1985, you go into the season, and at Daytona in July, you decide to field a second car for Greg Sykes at Daytona, and that deal evidently came together pretty quickly. What went into that decision to field the car for Greg?
Gary Nelson, we'd have our meetings, and Gary we were having a very tough time beating Bill Elliott. And no matter what we were doing, we were not as good as they were. And it really had us all concerned. And so the situation was that Nelson wanted to make changes to the chassis for Bobby, and Bobby didn't want it. And so what happened is Gary took a position with me and my brother, because we have meetings together, and said he did not want to, be the crew chief for Bobby. He couldn't do it because he wasn't listening to him. In order to compete against Elliott, he needed to do things, and Bobby wanted his same old chassis that he wanted. And so he refused to be his crew chief. So we elevated, I'm trying to think of his name, Robin Pemberton, to crew chief for Bobby. And Nelson said to me, and Yates and my brother, and he said, there's an engineer at Ford that has created some innovative things with respect to Elliott's car. And so I said to him, so I gave them authority to go and hire this engineer, no matter what it cost. And so I hired this engineer to work with Gary. And I said to Gary, he went up to Welcome, and we rented a warehouse in Welcome, a facility. Nobody knew we were up there. And he took certain key players with him, along with this engineer that I took away from working with Elliott, and put them exclusively working for us. And between them, they worked on this R&D car, and nobody knew they were doing it. And so we'd go about our business with Robert Pemberton and the crew with Bobby. In the meantime, they were working on creating this R&D car. And so they did, and they put the technology that he had brought to Elliott's team, plus technology that Gary had improved on, along with other members of the team, into this R&D car. And so we showed up at the race, and quite frankly, my son-in-law was jack man or gas man. I mean, the team was not bona fide racers, and wasn't intended to be. We were not trying to show Bobby Allison up. What we were trying to do was to run the car in a race, in a competitive situation, to see what improvements we made that we could give to Bobby the next week. That was the whole concept behind it. And so we go out, and what we find out is his car is like going around the racetrack on rails. And it's just superior and very competitive against even, the team that we wanted to beat. And so near the end of the race, Bobby's, our 22 Miller car wasn't doing that well, but our R&D car, just the white number 10, is leading the race. And so come down to the last few laps of the race or whatever, and the last pit stop. So Gary calls the other crew guys to come over and pit the car on the last pit stop, because we couldn't do much for Bobby at that time. He wasn't going to win, but this 10 car could. So the regular guys on the Miller car come over to the 10 car pit and pit the car on the last pit stop, the number 10. And we went on to win. Well, it created a controversy with Bobby. he didn't really quite understand that we were doing all this for him. He took it the wrong way and decided that he wanted to move on. And I'm the kind of guy is if you're not happy and I'm doing all these things to try to help make your team better, it's a no thank you to me. He would have had all that technology the following week, and we were also grooming Davey to take over for Bobby because I was helping that team out, Davey's team as well throughout the years. No one knew about it. But the point is that Bobby just, in my opinion, obviously took it as an insult or something. And I don't know what it was to this day. I still don't know why Bobby took the position of saying, he didn't want to drive for DiGard anymore. And my position was that if somebody doesn't want to, then it's never going to be a good deal. So, I called up Miller and told him what the deal was, and we moved on. It was an unfortunate situation. I still to this day don't know why, to be honest with you.
Well, if there were rumors about the 1982 Daytona 500 bumper, the 1985 Daytona car, Firecracker 400 car, is absolutely mythical, legendary. Can you say what exactly was going on with that race car that made it so good on the racetrack?
Oh, well, you're getting into the engineering side of it, which is not my forte.
It was worth a shot.
Yeah, I wish I could. I wish I could give it to you.
Yeah.
This engineer from Ford was quite innovative. In of course, we knew that Nelson was exceptional. In of itself, he's a story all of himself. Whether he came, offered to sweep floors for us. I don't know if you know that when he first came to us, but he, with all that between Yates and Nelson, they were a formative team. But this guy had some technology that he came up with that it was put into, the other team, and the only way I could get it was to hire him and pay him, which I did. And but the secrets and things, I really didn't get into the changes, but there were enough things done to the car but you still had to have a driver, in any circumstances. You can have the best race car in the world, but you still got to have a driver.
All right.
So it was our experimental car to bring the knowledge to the 22 car the next week. That was the whole concept behind it.